What is up, you sexy YouTube mother lovers? Finally made it back to San Antonio and ready to make content for you guys. Been gone for over a week doing a bunch of cool stuff like a demolition course with Matt Best, which I'm sure you'll see more about over on his channel when that comes out. But we got to play with the angry Play-Doh. But one of the reasons I left so long is I got to speak for you guys at the Young Americans for Liberty conference down in Orlando. They asked me to speak to a bunch of their young activists about gun rights. And since I think that's super important, we're obviously big proponents of that here at the channel, I figured I'd show that to you guys. Because I know, of course, all 2 million of you couldn't make it out. That just, that's not fair to you guys. So anyhow, I hope you guys enjoy my attempt at public speaking. Roll the clip.
I'm also here today to welcome to the stage Brandon, aka Herrera.
It's been awesome to see all of the support in the last year or so. Everybody just keeps telling me to go somewhere. I don't know, it's awesome. But thank you guys so much. Oh, it's so good to be back at YAL. You guys have a really cool energy. Hope you're all having a good time here at Revolution 2022. I know I've been having a great time at the bar across the hall. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Brandon Herrera. I am one of the biggest gun channels on YouTube where I use my platform to kind of teach people about guns, their history, how they work, gun safety, also other things like, Darwin Awards and cursed gun images. Thank you. Things that I think blend guns and comedy in a way that I think reaches the next generation, which apparently seems to be working. Now, for those of you sexy YouTube mother lovers who do know who I am, can I get a very loud hell yeah? Now, ladies, I'm speaking directly to you now. If the guy next to you just said hell yeah, watch your drinks tonight. All jokes aside, I am happy to be back and to be speaking at YAL. In fact, I'm proud to be able to be here and speak directly to the next generation of people who are eager and willing to sacrifice their time in order to learn and to be active, finding out what they can be doing to better further the cause of liberty. It's awesome to see, and this amazing country deserves it. So give yourselves a huge hand because I'm proud of you guys. I also realized that just kind of sounded like a participation award for showing up, but hey. But YAL has asked me to come back to speak to you about a few things related to gun rights in this country, and I've promised to keep my usual colorful vocabulary to a minimum. So I refuse to, so I will not be saying, or I will be trying my best to not say things like hell, damn, shit, or any of the other things they put on this list here for me. Anymore. But I'm here to talk to you guys about where we are with gun rights in America and where I think that we're going. And it is truly, as they say, the best of times and the worst of times. It is the best of times because we are on the offensive for the first time in a while, which is awesome. On a state level, you guys are crushing it. It's the worst of times, however, because there are more and more calls every day for federal gun regulation, restriction, and in some states, outright confiscation. Hey, I didn't do it, don't boo me. But first, no need to blackpill you, too quickly. Let's talk about our wins. How many of you guys were involved in YAL projects like Operation Win at the Door? If you were involved in that, go ahead and raise your hand if you would, please. That's awesome. Now keep those hands raised if you heard about those efforts because of me. That makes me feel a little less shitty about myself. That's awesome. But I'd like to congratulate each and every one of you because statewide campaigns like that were the reason we were able to elect so many new pro-gun, pro-liberty candidates across the country who passed things like constitutional carry, which I think is now 25 states out of 50. Awesome. And if we play our cards right, there's more to come in the next couple of years because you guys are killing it. Now, one of those states you guys crushed it in, from what I heard, with Operation Win at the Door, was Indiana, who just had their, it's just Indiana, don't get too excited. They just had their constitutional carry law go into effect, and incidentally, days later, was the mall shooting that we all heard about. Don't applaud a mall shooting, that's not. But that mall shooting was stopped by the Giga Chad named Elijah Dickens. Who was able to stop a look-alike of a virgin Hot Topic shopper who had never seen the inside of a gym in his life. Went a little hard on that one, maybe. He stopped him from murdering unknown amounts of people in a gun-free zone. Because someone like Elijah was armed with the tools and the training to be able to defend his life and the lives of countless others, God only knows how many lives were saved and how many people got to go home and hug their loved ones instead of watch them be lowered into the ground in a pine box. That's awesome. Something that's also kind of funny, when anti-gunners talk about gun control and they're promoting gun control, they often use the phrase, if it only saves one life, then it's worth it. They really do love to ignore cases like this, where it's the armed, law-abiding citizen, which is the reason why lives are getting saved. It's really convenient, I think, you know? Because someone was able to legally carry a gun. But Eli was a hero, and I know he'll never have to pay for a beer in Indiana, ever. But because Indiana now has constitutional carry, legally carrying a firearm was an option that is available to all of its citizens now. Do we have anyone from Indiana with us here today? God help you, I've been to Indiana. But seriously, good on you guys. You guys are the ones who did that, and you helped make that a reality. It's awesome. And let's not forget the crazy wave of Supreme Court victories for the Second Amendment that we've gotten that have come down the pipe lately. It's awesome. I know that in my adopted home state of Texas, it almost made the... There you go, you can applaud Texas, that's okay. In my adopted home state of Texas, it almost made the overweight blue hairs in Austin riot before they found out they needed to travel an extra couple hours to kill a baby. Seriously, who fucks these people? I know that's a separate, complicated issue, but I couldn't pass up the opportunity to make a joke at Austin's expense. But those Supreme Court victories are further solidifying the legal precedent that the Second Amendment does in fact cover the individual right to keep and to bear arms. Almost like that's how it was written or something, I don't know. My point of all of this is, look, I know how easy it can be to get bogged down in the doomer mentality that, we're losing. That, gun rights are eroding more and more every day, voting doesn't matter, and politicians won't change anything. But while politicians make these gun laws, they're also the ones who pass things like constitutional carry, sanctuary state protections, and pro-gun laws. The positions of power will be filled no matter what. So we have to fill them with people that actually give a shit about protecting your civil rights. Pardon the Avengers Endgame reference, but we have to use the stones to destroy the stones. But it's this kind of progress that shows that you guys are making a tangible difference, and it demonstrates why we have to go on the counter-offensive when possible to get back gun rights. Get back what they took from you. And it's because we're making progress but while we're making progress in expanding gun rights, both in the courts and in states across the country, there are also renewed calls for gun control, sweeping gun control reform at a federal level. Every time there's a shooting, you have politicians grandstanding about assault weapons bans and other things that we know won't work. But, the same assault weapons ban that, Columbine happened under, the massive school shooting that kind of kicked this whole thing off, yeah, that one. And it's generally hard for me to determine whether these politicians know or not how ineffective these kinds of bans would actually be, or if they really don't care, they're just trying to look good for their base on Election Day. I mean, I could get it if they don't know. Stupid politicians aren't exactly an endangered species or anything. But what's worse is when spineless Republicans break rank and cave into this bullshit. Defending the Constitution and the rights of man within it should be like a Spartan phalanx formation. You guys remember 300, right? Spartans, what is your profession? All of those dudes with shields lined up, all together, forming a phalanx that is impenetrable with no man willing to budge so that they could protect their line. That's what it should look like. When cowards tasked with that responsibility begin to break rank, the entire formation then falls apart and it defeats the entire purpose. All you need is a couple of things to fall, a couple of people to turn their back, the entire thing falls apart. Hold these people accountable. Because we just saw one of the biggest cases imaginable that proves that these people will never stop. They will never stop coming. You should never compromise, and you should never give an inch. Because we just saw after the Uvalde shooting, which is very sad, it's about an hour down the road from where I live, the left pushed for gun control measures, and it was so horrific that plenty of people on the right caved. We had several senators, several representatives caved on their promises. Cowards. And what do you think happened next? All right, the Republicans broke the phalanx. They let this pass. What happened next? Did they stop? Did they finally say, thank you for compromising your natural rights given to you by God and the Constitution. Here's a fucking cookie, thanks for playing. No. They immediately saw this as a green light that they could get stuff passed, and they immediately filed for an assault weapons ban, which just passed the House, by the way. You can't give them an inch. You cannot give them an inch. They will take a mile and a half and keep going. They can say all day that they don't want to take our guns. They just want common sense gun restrictions, common sense gun reform. But as soon as you give that to them, they turn into an ADHD 3-year-old high on cocaine running toward the Bill of Rights with a lighter. Which is a hell of a mental image, by the way. You see, when they say, we don't want to take your guns, they are lying to you. When they say, we aren't going to take your guns, they're actually telling the truth. You're not going to take shit because I'm not going to give you shit. And if you decide the federal government can ignore the Constitution, ignore the document that gives it authority in the first place, and you can go door to door and take away that last line of defense a citizenry has against tyranny, then all I can say is send bachelors and come heavily armed. I'm gonna need to check my blood pressure after this. But back on a positive note, we have great organizations like the GOA, the Firearm Policy Coalition, NAGR, and hell, the YAL, that are steering and energizing the youth of America in a positive direction and using them as a force for good. We're changing gun culture for the better. That's what we're doing here. I mean, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, having an AR-15 or an AK-47 was kind of weird, right? Wasn't really all that popular. Maybe your crazy uncle who's kind of a, prepper, maybe he had one, but now they're one of the most popular firearms in America. tens of millions in circulation. Which, by the way, fun fact, makes the armed citizenry of the United States the biggest military in the world by far. Bigger than the next 5 combined, easily. But we're seeing now better gun representation in movies, in video games, in media, in YouTube. Hi. It's the normalization of gun culture that is helping get people interested in guns. Showing guns in a positive light, because I mean, all they hear about on CNN, on MSNBC, is just all the negatives of living in a society that has guns. They don't get to see any of the positives because that's not who pays the bills at these media companies. That's not what they want you to see. But being able to show guns in a positive light is going to be one of the only tools that we have to combat that. Because these people will not give you the airtime if you are showing the positive ramifications of being in a gun-owning society, like the Elijah Dickens case, for example. This is where you come in. By continuing to help elect politicians that strive to respect your rights, you're making a difference. But on the flip side, you're also making a positive impact on a smaller level, on a more, I guess, a level that is easier for you to show significant impact in by showing off safe, fun elements of gun ownership with your friends and on your social media and everything like that. It's an awesome hobby, and even though some people, if you post stuff like that, are going to treat you like you're the Unabomber, there are plenty of people who are on the fence that may see you having fun with it and think, you know what, I'd like to give that a try. Maybe that's not as scary as I thought. You're changing minds, and that technically makes you an influencer if you think about it. I know it's cringe as that term has become. It's also something that you can bring up with friends and family. Get them into the sport. Go take them shooting. Go give them basic advice for buying their first gun. You don't have to sit and preach about why the NFA is bullshit and why the ATF needs to be abolished. Trust me, there's plenty of time for that later. They'll get there. Just get them into it and be safe about it. And who knows, you might end up lighting a spark that sparks 10 others down the road, like sometime in their life, that sparked 10 others. Hell, my family's actually here in the crowd today. Hey, Mom. But it was doing things like growing up and shooting with my dad and learning how those weapons worked and respecting them as tools to be used and not cower from them as something to be feared. That's entirely the reason why I'm speaking to you today. It's that kind of impact that you guys can make in your own lives. That's the influence that you guys need to have on your family, on your friends, and your kids when the time comes. I said when the time comes. Half of you are like freshmen in college. Simmer. Be active and be a good influence. And grow the community. And for the love of God, don't give up. Guns are an implement in the toolbox of fighting tyranny and preserving liberty. But if the time ever comes to do that, you can only do so with a clean conscience if you know as a citizen you have exhausted all other peaceful means. If you can't squiggle a circle on a fucking ballot box, like how can you say with a straight face that you did everything you could? I know I'm only a couple of years older than all of you guys, although, to be fair, I'll probably die long before you. But it really does warm my heart to know that with all the indoctrination of our youth in schools, in media, and whatever else, that so many of you guys are here, and you're making sure that you do your part to make sure that your kids will get to grow up and enjoy the same freedoms that you do. That's awesome. God bless you all, and I will see you sexy mother lovers later on tonight, I'm sure. Thanks, guys.
Vodka, bottle, shot for fun. AK-47 beat, entries like AK-15. Nothing gonna show you how. Send me out the 50 cal. Do you like my Kalashnikov? Papa Kalash, you can stop by jumping through the lava. killer, you can stop,